Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to our presentation on the censuses. My name is Irmak, and I am the program manager for Eastview's Global Census Archive. And I am originally from Istanbul, Turkey. And before moving to St. Paul and taking on this role as the program manager for the Global Census Archive, I used to be a college professor. I studied comparative literature in SUNY Binghamton, for many years, I taught language, literature, and philosophy. And one of the things that I try to do, no matter what subject I teach, is to cultivate a sense of interest in students towards primary sources. And whenever they do their research, guide them to use primary sources. And I think it's becoming more important that we retain that value of primary sources in the age of AI. Students might be easily tempted to take the easy way and just have the summaries made for them. But finding and discovering new things through primary sources is always very inspiring. And today, I will talk a little bit about censuses, probably not new information for many of you. And I'll talk about how censuses could be used as a primary research source, what kind of fields they inform, and also talk about our research platform, Global Census Archive, and how it enhances and facilitates research even at undergraduate level. So what is a census? Census is a process of systematically collecting, compiling, and analyzing demographic data, social data, and economic data. Usually, it includes information on age, gender. In some countries, it includes even more information on occupation and other economic factors. It's very important because, well, in the US case, we know it's important because it informs the apportionment of congressional seats, but it's also important all around the world because many government decisions are based on this statistical baseline that census data provides. And the difference between a census and a survey is done only with a sample population, and it could be done as frequently as a National Statistic Office wants it. However, censuses, because they are large endeavors, and because censuses collect data on every single person in that geography at that time, it takes longer, and it's usually done in 10 years. Some countries do it every 5 years. Our archive, there's different types of censuses, agricultural and economic censuses, but our archive focuses mainly on population and housing censuses. And a population census, and here is what the United States Census Bureau says about population census. It is a complete snapshot of a nation's people. It provides information on the size, location, and characteristics of the population. It is the backbone of a national statistical system. And this is not only true for the US, but also the rest of the world. And it informs so many policy decisions across different geographies. And demographers, sociologists, and people who study geography frequently use census data. Housing censuses are usually undertaken at the same time as the population censuses, but it collects information on the housing units and amenities of a housing unit. What kind of, if they have running water or if they have bathrooms, those things are included in a housing census. And it also informs, aside from demographers or sociologists, urban planners, environmental studies, and public health researchers. Now, a census is a big endeavor, and it takes a long time from start to finish. It starts with kind of the planning and preparatory phase where there's a legal basis created for the census. And then we have the designing of the questionnaire. This part is usually the controversial part of a census. You might be hearing the news about the US Census, what type of question, like the citizenship question, whether to include it or not. In Australia, there's a question about gender identity. In India, there's a controversy about including a question on caste. So all these are in the designing phase, and the public there's public debates on this issue. When we come to the enumeration phase, there's a lot of effort that goes into training the enumerators to go from house to house and count the population. And there could be like field supervisors, there could be people going from house to house, depending on how the country conducts it. And then finally, once the data is collected, there's the processing of data, tabulating the results, analyzing it, creating thematic reports. And the last part is evaluating whether the census was accurate and how it could have been done better. In all the steps of this census methodology, the national statistics offices of countries produce incredible number of documents, starting with the legal framework all the way into training the enumerators, creating public awareness campaigns around answering the questions for the census. In each step of the way, there's a lot of publications that are produced and disseminated through the statistics office's websites or through newspapers when they are mandated to provide information to the public. One thing that's relatively recent is GIS data, the Geographic Information Systems data that accompanies censuses. And almost all countries use GIS data to delineate the enumeration areas and administrative units. And once they finish, they publish, I would say many countries publish this GIS data in geoportals, but sometimes it's not the statistical offices that publish this information. It could be a totally different cartography office of the country. Also, some countries have specific websites just for the geodata of that year's census because it's such a big, huge data set, they can't host it on their normal website. And this is a relatively new occurrence. Used to be that GIS would come in a CD-ROM. Now in countries in Europe, when there's like more open access to this geographic information, you can just go to the website and kind of see the different layers, play with the data, but not all countries have the capacity to do that yet. So the application of census data is very important in the sense that it has a very strong interdisciplinary relevance because it's not just contained, it doesn't just include the Excel sheets or tables that the country produces about age, gender, fertility, mortality. There is a lot of qualitative data that is waiting to be discovered within this publications. For example, the public awareness campaigns. They show what a country prioritized at the time, or the thematic reports that a country publishes. For example, Japan frequently publishes thematic reports on aging, the aging of the population. It kind of gives us a sense of what a country is preoccupied with at that time of the census. And also who conducted the census, under what political regime was the census conducted. When we look at India, and Global Census Archive has almost all the censuses from India, when the British colonizers collected data, they collected and separated different castes. Now it's not, now in India, this is not an information that's collected, and there's a controversy. So all this a researcher can find within the auxiliary documents. Also, of course, the tables and the Excels are useful in understanding the demographic data, but every surrounding document gives a researcher the sense of what a country was preoccupied with, what were the political concerns at the time. So for librarians, it's a very difficult task to collect censuses from each individual country. First of all, there isn't a regular schedule. And now COVID has even created more of a disruption in the regular schedules of censuses. Every country has its own schedule. Every country has its own esoteric practices. Some websites are not stable, so the websites are there one day, might be lost another day. Sometimes not all the census publications will be in a country's national statistic website because they take off the old ones and publish the new ones in that website. Recently, Eastview has licensed Gale to publish International Population Census Collection, and that's collection that's from 16th century onwards. They had all this collection from around the world, and you can imagine the kind of metadata and cataloging work we did to create a consistent database for all that different censuses from different countries. Sometimes the names of the countries were wrong. Sometimes the years were wrong in the Gale guide. So we had to update all those. We had to get rid of the duplicates. And we digitized all the microfilm into our platform. So now everything is under a consistent catalog. And you can search countries, you can search different years, and access the wealth of information from there. So we have the full global coverage and archival coverage. Our collection isn't limited to the international population census collection from Gale. We also add the current publications and whatever that wasn't contained in that IPC collection. And it is searchable, so you can search the whole archive with a single keyword. You can search the in PDFs with the text. And whenever it's available, we also publish the GIS data for students to download and visualize using their own software. So we also have that. Sometimes we create our own GIS sets based on the census data because not all countries produced GIS sets for each census. So depending on the interest or research interest, we do that. And we harvest GIS data with our local contacts in, for example, countries like Tanzania or Ecuador. We get the GIS sets and process those to put in our platform. The types of, I kind of briefly mentioned, but researchers can search through the different publications. For example, the official, if they just want to see the official results, if they want to see the public awareness, they can search through all that different type of publications. They are in PDF form. They can be searched with keywords. If the country publishes Excel tables, we also have those in our website as Excel tables. We don't create the Excel tables, but they're available. Also, PDFs are available. It's so the students can use these to, if it's Excel format, they can use it to manipulate, or if they're taking a statistics class or social sciences class, it could be a good source. And then finally, the GIS data we have as on the platform available for download if the institution subscribes to it. And these are also categorized and made into cataloged in a thematic way. We have the demographic, economic, housing, migration, social, and transportation data in terms of shape files. But also, again, it depends on what the country and their questions made available. Not all countries ask the same questions in their censuses. So this is like Honduras, for example, has a big data set because it had all these components for the GIS. And one thing that enhances, in my opinion, the research is the filters. Like I said, instead of going from one country's national statistics website to another country's national statistics website, looking to 2010 or 2000 or 2020, everything is cataloged this way. So you pick the census round, census type, and the language. And if you are fluent in a different language than English, you can use the vernacular of that country to find census publications. And students can use their software of choice to translate if need be. So this is kind of like a very functional tool. And everything is organized with a clear hierarchy. So we have, for example, the countries. Let's say Panama. You want to talk about the censuses of Panama, and you go to Panama page. You see all the censuses that are available for that country. Then for each year, for each census year, you will see another country year landing page. And again, you see the list of publications under that. So everything is organized in a straightforward hierarchy, enabling students, and especially undergraduate students, to use it and do their own research. The search function, which I mentioned, it's a dynamic search function. So you type in your keyword, and you can find it in the PDF, in the text, and you can even see it in the thumbnails on the left side of the screen. You see the little thumbnail, so the blue highlight will show on which pages your search word appears. And this is kind of, if you were to read volumes of census publications, in printed versions from like 1990s, this is kind of makes it much easier, because then you can find your keyword instead of going through all the pages of those volumes of publications. And what it yields to is, first of all, a quantitative analysis. Just to give an example from my country, Turkey, the census takes place every 10 years. And if you were interested, and it's very regular, the questions have been regular over the last 3 decades. So if you want to, for example, talk about home ownership, this is a question in the housing and population census in Turkey, you could compare 1990 and 2000, or 2010. You could compare if the home ownership for each municipality. You can compare if it increased, if it decreased. So this yields to great quantitative analysis. But as I mentioned before, that's not all. The historical analysis, and this is the part where I kind of get myself lost in looking at the archive. I've spent I click on one link and find like a PDF, and then that leads me to another PDF, and then I read, I find different government notes or historical details. So perfect place for discovery. For example, Philippines, 1903. This census was conducted by the occupying US military. And the way they conducted it, they separated the population into civilized and wild. And not only that, they had all this written piece about the so-called natives. So it is an incredible historic document that explains what the aims were in conducting a population census and what the context was. So like I said, the results, the number of people is one thing, but the underlying ideology in conducting the censuses really come alive when you have all the publications that surround a census. And again, you can do a comparative analysis. You can think about one city, for example, Cebu City in Philippines in 1918, and then compare it to a different province and compare between different times, because you see each publication year, and you can compare the specific regions within a country from those data. And when you see the page thumbnails, you can see the ones with the graphs, with the maps, and that could lead the students into interesting discoveries. So just to end everything, Global Census Archive is now a huge platform with over 200 countries, because we include the historical countries, and over 8.5 million pages from all these countries. And it's growing because the new 2020 censuses are being published, and we are creating the metadata for those and adding them to our platform. And basically, I wanted to present the idea that the censuses are very important in multidisciplinary research, and is not often thought of that way. They're all, oh, demographers are interested in this, or it's just numbers. But in fact, it's more than just that. And there are certain challenges in curating and ensuring the availability of census documents. A single platform like this makes it very easy to access all those censuses and know that you can also get access to the upcoming censuses. And the platform tools that enable searching through different documents, filtering through years, makes it easy for our undergraduate researchers to use it as well. So that's all from me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions here, or if you have time, or wherever, like when you see me outside. So thank you for coming. I don't know if there were any questions. Yeah.
Do you provide any historical context, like exactly?
We want.
This country was colonized during these days, like any kind of
Yeah, so we are in the process of creating country pages, giving like a short wiki type of countries, but it's not done yet. It's like a next step of our platform, but it's like in the works.